A person convicted and jailed for wrongdoing basically forfeits liberties. They are expected to serve time for their crimes, but the system does have provisions for a second chance for model prisoners, the parole system. Parole then is a privilege, not a right, but some criminals think denial is violation of human rights.
The country, under the Institute of Correctional Service, currently has a total of 21 correctional facilities, of which 18 are in use, while the other 3 have been closed. The facilities located throughout the country serve as containment for offenders sentenced to terms of imprisonment. Under the country's laws, a prisoner may apply for parole. This is a system which allows for the temporary or permanent release of a prisoner before the end of the sentence on the condition that they behave well. Tasked with the responsibility of granting this privilege is the parole board.
Parole is considered when a person is eligible for parole after he has served 1/3 of his term. But eligibility is one thing. Eligibility is not the same thing as entitlement to parole. There are also other issues and considerations which the Parole Act imposes on the board to consider. And those involves, first and foremost, safety of the community.
The board is required under the Parole Act to meet as often as required. The board has an average of 7 meetings each year, which it uses to deal with parole applications, ranging from 300 to close to 600 cases. But with such a high number of applications, there are set requirements that must be met.
Parole is a responsibility that it's a very serious responsibility that is imposed on the parole board. We are asked to review and vary a court decision on sentence. So it's not a matter where we can take things lightly and give parole to anyone and everyone. There is also another misconception on the part of the public that parole should be used as some kind of a release valve for overcrowded prisons. That's a very serious error if we are going to do that. We cannot release parolees en masse because jails are overcrowded. We are going to compound a lot of the problems in our societies.
Recently, there has been public misconception with the way the board has been functioning. But according to Parole Board Chairman Dr. Lawrence Kalinoy, granting of parole is not a right but should be seen as a privilege. There has been a case from last year which involved prisoners petitioning a politician and taking their parole application to court. This, Dr. Kalinoy says, should not be happening.
Unfortunately, some members of the public do not quite understand. And recently, we've taken issue with a petition the Lakemata prisoners have given to the governor for their province. The issue we take is this, that, well, we've actually considered those prisoners' petition. We've dealt with all those prisoners who applied for human rights protection to have their applications heard. We've deliberated on them, all of them, by the end of the year. The petition was drawn up in the middle of, towards June, July of last year, of 2016. By the end of the year, we've dealt with all of that. But I don't think it is right for prisoners to petition members of parliament to demand for parole. There is already a legitimate body set up to consider those issues, and we should allow that body to do its work. As I said earlier, parole is a privilege. It's not a right. There is no human rights to parole in our country, or let alone anywhere in this world. We are increasingly getting a situation where our courts are processing a lot of human rights enforcement applications from parolees. And we're having some issues with that as well.
Dr. Kalinoy says while prisoners may be eligible for parole, an issue that exists is the lack of a proper supervisory system in certain parts of the country.
The issue of safety to the community is critical for us. That's the overriding concern. Then we look at supervision, whether the supervision plan is satisfactory or not, in the sense that if a prisoner is from, say, Sudest, up in Milne Bay, and he was going to come and report in Alotau, supervision plan there is not a suitable one, for the reason that it wouldn't be practical for that prisoner to come and report for parole purposes, parole supervision. So in a situation like that, we cannot give parole. Even the person, the parolee, the applicant has met requirements, but the supervision plan is no good.
While such challenges exist, the board has given assurance that it is fully functional.
Gregory Avira, ending the Friday edition of PNG Tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll be back on Monday for another week of current affairs on NBC television. Enjoy your weekend. I'm John Higgins. Good night.